Hi everyone, welcome back to Life with RA Plus. In today's video, I'll be talking about my birthing story. I want to share and bring awareness that even though you have rheumatoid arthritis, you're still capable of giving birth, getting pregnant. Um, if not, there's always C-section, which is completely fine. I did have a C-section with my first, and our little girl Charlotte, I was able to have a natural birth. So I just wanted to share all of that with you. But as always, talk to your doctor, see if that's best for you. If you're able to move, if you're able to stay in a position for a long time, always consult with your doctors first. I'm just sharing my story. And so I know it's a different background. We did have to move stuff around to bring little Miss home and have her comfy too. So I'm kind of working on rearranging where her stuff goes. And so she's 2 months now. She's currently in my arms eating because, motherhood. I did have to take a little hiatus because in my third trimester, I got all those first trimester feelings back. I had low energy. I was tired. It was just hard for me to do things. And then, I still have Charlie, my 4-year-old, and life just catches up with you. So I'm hoping to keep sharing my story and other people's stories. I would love to get other people's stories out there as well. Um, people with lupus or MS or, things like that. Because I want to bring awareness to these other diseases and to show that, there's other people out there that are dealing with the same thing you are and you're not alone. But going into my birthing story, so it was August 18th. In the morning, it was 3 a.m. and well, let's say 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was laying in bed and I just felt like, I was getting contractions prior, but I knew they were just Braxton Hicks because it would just go away. But these ones, they were lasting a little longer. And all of a sudden I turned over because, I was in bed at 2 a.m. And I turned over and I felt like this pop, not it's like kind of like a rupture, but so I had that feeling and I said, okay, I have to go to the bathroom now. So I went to the bathroom and, I went pee and there was like stuff like floating in there, this might be TMI, but it is what it is. So there was stuff floating in there and I said, oh, I think my water broke, but I'm not sure because, I didn't have that experience with Charlie since he was a C-section. And so I said, okay, well, I didn't feel like any like fluid like flowing out of me a lot when I went pee. So I said, oh, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is. So I came to lay back down in bed and all of a sudden my contractions were getting stronger and they were lasting longer. So the first thing I did was I went to go wake up my mother-in-law because this lady has 6 kids and she knows what the deal is, okay? So I went and I woke her up and I told her, I said, this happened and I'm not sure. I didn't feel like a gush. And so she started asking me these questions and, how long have they been lasting? Are they really painful? And she already had told me, like, I'm pretty sure your water broke because, you're already at the end of the line. You're due in 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure your water broke. So she was asking me, she goes, okay, well, do you have everything ready? Do you have the hospital bag ready? And I told her, no, I didn't have nothing ready. That was our plan for that weekend coming up. And our plan was to, finish washing the baby clothes, putting the dresser together, doing all this stuff, getting my hospital bag ready, getting Steven's hospital bag ready, deciding where Charlie was going to go, whether he was going to stay here with her or go to my sister's. All of this is going on. And she comes to me to my room and she's helping me pack. And she's like, okay, so what are we taking? And I'm like, well, I have little to nothing ready. So we're putting our heads together, trying to get everything ready, put together. So I call Steven and Steven, he works graveyard. So around 3-ish, he's usually on his way home. And that's the time I called him was at 3. And sometimes he does work overtime and doesn't get home till 5. So I called him and I told him, I really hope you're on your way home. because I think my water just broke. So I explained to him the situation, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm on my way home. I'm coming. I'm down the street." And so me and my mother-in-law were trying to get our bags ready, and it was a little chaotic and a bit of a hot mess. So my poor mother-in-law had to deal with that. And um so he gets here, he's asking all the questions, what happened? Oh my gosh, I need to pack my hospital bag too. I need to get my stuff ready. I got to get the car seat and the stroller in the car. We didn't even have the car seat in the car yet. I know. I'm telling you, it was a hot mess. So he goes, he gets his things done. He has to go to the bathroom. I don't know why men always have to go to the bathroom like at the time we have to leave. Yeah, I know it's just not my husband because I see other people's husbands and they're like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I don't know, maybe nerves? I don't know. But anyways, so we go and we leave about 4. Charlie ends up staying with my mother-in-law. And um I think we left at 4 and we get to the hospital at 4:45. So the hospital that I'm giving birth at is about an hour away. So we get there in 45 minutes, which is good timing. And so because of COVID regulations still, he couldn't go all the way like into the room with me. So he had to wait in the waiting area. So they're getting my intake and they still have to do a COVID test. And they're like, are you sure your water broke? We might have to send you home because if there was no gushing, then we can't keep you. And I was like, okay. So they did the COVID test anyways, just to make sure. My husband had to go and get an at home COVID test. Luckily, his sister lives down the street. So she gave him one of hers. And they had to make sure that he didn't have COVID either. And so as they're talking to me, I just felt like this gush of fluid. And I said, okay, I think it's here. You know, I think the rest of my water broke. So the nurse is like, okay, let me see. I got to check and make sure. And she goes, oh, yep, it looks like we're going to keep you. And so my contractions were getting stronger. It was about, I think it was about 9 in the morning or I don't, oh girl. I can't even tell you the times. I just remember they finally put me in the labor room and they said, okay, we're going to give you Pitocin. So they're going to speed up my delivery. And as soon as they gave me the Pitocin, my contractions were coming harder than I thought before they were like tough, but they were tough. Okay. And I deal with pain on a daily basis. And so it was just like, and it was all in my lower back. Yes, you were a pain in my lower back. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Yes, he's smiling. That's okay with you? So they were all in my lower back, and I was just holding on. I just remember laying on my side, holding on to the rail, and I was like, oh my God. Like, please God, let this labor go fast. I need to deliver this child because I can't do it anymore. So then um they checked me and I was dilated like 1.5, not even 2. And I'm like, what the heck, man? Like all this and I'm not even that much dilated. So the nurse was telling me, okay, well, let me know when you can't handle it anymore because the epidural could take up to an hour before you get it because, you know, there's other patients. So I told her, I said, okay, well, let's just get the process started now because if it's an hour, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be able to last that long, especially if they keep coming stronger and stronger. So finally, they let my husband in. He does the COVID test. He tests negative. So he tests negative, and that's it. So he's like, it's like hours. I'm in there for hours, and they come and test me like I think they told me like every 3 hours they were gonna check me, and then so they check me again. Oh, God bless you. They check me again, and they're like, oh, okay, you're 4 centimeters, and you're moving along. That's great. And I'm like, okay, like 4 centimeters. I still got 6 more to go. Come on. And so, you know, it's just all time and waiting. So finally, not the guy, but the anesthesiologist comes. He gives me the epidural. You know, it did take a while for me to get the epidural. So, but after the epidural, within, I don't even know how long, maybe 20, 30 minutes, I was feeling so much better. I was able to take a nap. I don't even know how long I slept for. But then I woke up and then that pain was coming back. And so what people don't tell you is that like the contractions, you feel it all the way in your butt. Okay. And you're just like, oh my God, am I gonna poop? Or like what is going on? And so they said, okay, when you have a lot of pressure where you feel like you can't handle it anymore, let us know because it's probably time. So I finally let them know, okay, is it time? What? And they came, they checked me, and they said, okay, you're 10 centimeters dilated. We're going to start pushing. So I'm like, oh, great. Finally, the time has come. And with the epidural, you can't, well, at least I couldn't feel my legs. So poor Steven, he had to help me bring my legs up because I couldn't feel them. I couldn't move them. I couldn't feel them. I couldn't lift them. So he had to lift them up and hold them so I could push. And, they tell you, how to breathe and then when to push and then how to breathe. And when you get a contraction, so then you push. So I was pushing for almost 2 hours and I was pushing with the nurses. And then the doctor comes in and she says, okay, well, you've been pushing for a while and you're at the same spot. We see the head, everything, we can see everything, she's right there. But for some reason, like she keeps going back in. So she goes and she checks me and she tells me, okay, well, I think the baby's sunny side up, which is, her face is upwards. Her head is still down, but she's facing up instead of down. And so they said, okay, we're going to do an ultrasound. And if she's sunny side up, we can either keep pushing because baby still can be delivered sunny side up. It's just, a longer process. Or we can go in and just turn her head and make her the way she's supposed to come out. So I kept pushing and pushing, and finally it was just the same spot. So me and Steven were like, can you just go in and turn her? As soon as they turned her, like a couple pushes, and she was out. Oh, yeah. And she was out. So my baby was born or was the 19th. My baby was born August 19th at 11:20 p.m. And she was just so alert. When I looked over when they were weighing her, she was looking at everybody in the room. And it's so amazing to finally see them because, you just carrying them for 9 months and then you feel all their kicks and their hiccups and everything. And then when you see them finally here, it's just such a beautiful moment. Thankfully, I was able to have a natural birth despite having both hips replaced. And I was just so fortunate to have experienced that. And I know there's other people out there with rheumatoid arthritis that may not be able to have a natural birth, but there's nothing wrong with having a C-section either. It's just as beautiful as having a natural birth. Yeah, you want to experience a natural birth, but you get the same outcome. You get a precious baby and you finally get to see them, and that's what's important. So, don't get discouraged if you can't have a natural birth. And that's pretty much it for my birthing story. My recovery was pretty smooth. They said that I did have a little bit preeclampsia, but my legs were swollen. But it wasn't until I gave birth. It wasn't during my pregnancy or anything like that. It wasn't just until I gave birth. So that was kind of weird. But after I had my baby, they did my blood pressure and everything was pretty steady. So, they just told me when you go home, keep checking your blood pressure. And if anything is abnormal, just call us and we can schedule you for an appointment to see the OB. Everything was pretty much steady. So I didn't have to go back. I do have to go back on the 8th of November just for a checkup. And yeah, so thankfully the recovery wasn't as bad either. It was far much smoother than my C-section recovery. I mean, my C-section recovery, sneezing was painful, laughing was painful, just because, the incision. It was still a little uncomfortable when I would sneeze or laugh or cough or whatever during natural, but it wasn't as bad as a C-section. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my birthing story. I do have other stories to tell you. You know, we recently went on a trip to Wyoming to go see the Grand Tetons and to Yellowstone. So I'd love to share that with you, and also, um, you know, talk about what medications I take when I go on vacation or as far as hiking goes. And so stay tuned for that video, and I'd love to share that with you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.